Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, nothing ever changes for me? What if I told you those thoughts aren't just hurting your mood, they're physically changing your brain, damaging your memory, sabotaging your health, and silently stealing years from your life? It's not just in your head, it's inside your brain, your body, and your future. Negative thoughts aren't harmless. They're chemical instructions, rewriting who you become without you even realizing it. And here's the real shock. Most people never break free because they've been lied to about what those thoughts really are and how to stop them. In this video, we're uncovering the shocking truth about negative thoughts and how to stop them. This isn't motivation fluff. It's brain science. It's emotional freedom. And it's the step-by-step path to taking back your mind for good. Stay with me, because by the end, you won't just understand your thoughts. You'll know exactly how to rewire them and finally heal the way you think, feel, and live. Most people don't realize how much damage their thoughts do until it's too late. A single negative thought may seem small, but over time, repeated negativity begins to shape the brain, your body chemistry, and even your future. Thoughts aren't harmless. They're instructions to the brain. And every time you repeat, I'm not good enough, or this always happens to me, you're literally programming your mind to believe it. Neuroscience shows that chronic negative thinking increases inflammation in the brain and raises stress hormones like cortisol, slowly damaging areas responsible for memory, focus, and decision-making. It's not just emotional, it's biological. Negative thoughts act like mental parasites. They whisper quietly, then grow louder, taking over your inner world. They feed off fear, insecurity, and tainty. But here's the hardest part. Many people don't even recognize they're doing it. It becomes a habit, automatic, unconscious, and toxic. And because your brain is always rewiring based on your repeated thoughts, you're training yourself to stay stuck in that dark place. It doesn't just affect your mood. It weakens your immune system, increases your risk for depression, and even shortens your lifespan. Research from Dr. Daniel Amen's clinics found that people who regularly engage in negative thinking have lower blood flow to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for problem solving and control. When that part weakens, you lose perspective, you overreact, you spiral, your thoughts begin to lie to you, and sadly, you believe them. That's how many people lose hope, not because life is unbearable, but because their thoughts convince them it is. But there is hope. Just as negative thoughts can rewire your brain in harmful ways, positive and intentional thinking can heal it. Your brain is constantly changing, constantly adapting. It's called neuroplasticity. You're not stuck. You're not broken. You're not beyond saving. The shocking truth is that most suffering isn't caused by events. It's caused by how we interpret them. And that interpretation is something you can change starting now. But to do that, you have to first learn where your negative thoughts come from and how to catch them before they catch you. Negative thoughts don't come from weakness. They're often survival strategies your brain adopted a long time ago. Maybe you were criticized as a child. Maybe you were neglected. Or maybe your brain learned that if it expected the worst, it could avoid pain. Over time, that pattern became automatic. But here's the truth. What once protected you may now be destroying you. These thoughts aren't who you are. They're who your brain thinks you need to be to survive. Our brains are wired to scan for threats. It's called negativity bias, and it helped early humans stay alive. But in today's world, where threats are rarely physical, this ancient wiring works against us. The brain still reacts as if every inconvenience or rejection is life or death. That's why criticism stings. That's why one bad moment can ruin your day. It's not your fault. It's your biology. but that doesn't mean you're powerless. Thoughts are just electrical impulses passing through neural pathways. But the more you think a certain way, the stronger that pathway becomes. Like carving a groove into a record, your brain gets stuck playing the same loop. And without awareness, you repeat the cycle, feeling powerless, anxious, angry, or defeated, even when the situation doesn't deserve that response. That's not you. It's conditioning. But here's the breakthrough. Awareness breaks the cycle. When you become aware of your thoughts, when you pause, observe, and name them, you interrupt the automatic pattern. It's called metacognition, and it's the first step toward freedom. You are not your thoughts. You are the one noticing them. And from that place of awareness, you can start to question them, challenge them, and replace them. But it requires daily effort. Negative thinking is loud, but healing is consistent. Knowing the origin of your thoughts helps take away their power. Instead of feeling defective, you begin to see the story your brain has been telling you, and then decide if it still serves you. Because once you recognize that many of your thoughts are based on outdated fears or distorted beliefs, you can choose a different path. That choice rewires your brain. It reclaims your peace. And it begins a new, more honest, and more powerful inner dialogue. Every thought you think triggers a chemical reaction in the body. Negative thoughts are like toxic drops in your internal environment. Over time, they pollute everything: your sleep, your energy, your digestion, and even your immune system. When your brain constantly fires in stress mode, your adrenal glands release cortisol. Cortisol, in small doses, is useful, but in high amounts, it becomes poison. It shrinks the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, and weakens your ability to process emotions or recall positive memories. Chronic negative thinking has been linked to heart disease, obesity, digestive issues, and autoimmune disorders. But beyond the physical, it also rewires the brain's emotional circuitry. The amygdala, your fear center, grows more reactive. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for decision-making and emotional control, grows weaker. This imbalance makes you feel constantly on edge, overly sensitive, or emotionally numb. It's not just in your head. It's in your brain and body. People who suffer from repeated negative thoughts often experience decision fatigue. They find it hard to think clearly or act confidently. That's because the brain is burning energy battling imagined threats. Overthinking creates noise. Rumination becomes a full-time job. And that mental clutter makes even small tasks feel exhausting. You're not lazy or unmotivated. Your brain is overloaded. And when your brain is tired, it tells you false stories. You're not enough. This will never change. You'll always be stuck. But remember, thoughts aren't facts. Your internal state becomes your external reality. If your inner world is filled with fear, doubt, and judgment, your outer life will reflect that in your relationships, health, and confidence. That's why stopping negative thinking isn't just mental, it's spiritual. It's the foundation of all healing. If you don't change how you think, no diet, supplement, or routine will bring lasting peace. The good news is this: the brain can recover. It can rebuild itself. Even if you've spent decades trapped in dark thought patterns, the damage is not permanent. But you must become intentional. Just like negative thinking damages the brain, positive, calm, and hopeful thinking repairs it. Gratitude activates healing regions. Compassion lowers cortisol. Mindfulness improves blood flow to the decision-making centers. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. And when your thoughts change, your biology follows. To heal your thinking, you must first learn to identify the patterns. Dr. Daniel Amen describes 9 specific types of negative thoughts. He calls them ants, or automatic negative thoughts. These ants crawl into your mind without warning, multiplying and stealing your peace. Each one has a different poison, and knowing them by name is the first step in neutralizing their effect. All or nothing. Thinking. You see things in extremes. If it's not perfect, it's a disaster. This kind of thinking leaves no room for growth or nuance. Always. Thinking. You use words like always, never, or everyone. One mistake becomes a lifelong identity. One argument becomes the end of everything. Focusing on the negative. Even when good things happen, you ignore them. You scan for what's wrong, and in doing so, you miss what's right. Fortune-telling. You predict failure before anything even begins. It kills action. It paralyzes dreams. Mind reading. You assume people are thinking badly of you without any evidence. It builds walls in relationships that never needed to be there. Thinking with your feelings. You believe that just because you feel something, it must be true, but emotions are messengers, not always mirrors of reality. Guilt beating. You pressure yourself with shoulds, musts, and have-tos. It breeds resentment and anxiety rather than growth. Labeling. You call yourself names like stupid, lazy, or broken. These labels become cages that keep you stuck. Blame. You refuse to take ownership, placing fault outside yourself. But blame robs you of the power to change. Once you know these thought types, you can begin to catch them. And when you catch them, you can challenge them. The goal is not to silence your mind, but to guide it, to lead it with truth, not fear. You don't need to fight every thought, but you must learn which ones to ignore and which ones to heal. A powerful practice is writing your negative thoughts down. Seeing them on paper makes them lose power. You begin to notice how irrational and repetitive they are. Then question them. Ask, is this true? Is there another way to see this? Would I say this to someone I love? This process rewires your brain to choose clarity over chaos. And slowly, the voice in your head becomes kinder, more accurate, and more grounded in reality. Healing begins when awareness meets compassion. You don't need to shame yourself for thinking negatively. You just need to stop letting those thoughts go unchallenged. You are not your ants. You are the one who chooses whether they stay. Changing the way you think isn't about pretending to be happy. It's about creating a brain environment that supports peace, clarity, and action. And the science of neuroplasticity proves it's possible. Your brain changes in response to repetition. What you practice becomes your default. So here are proven tools to help you rewire negative patterns. 1. Thought journaling. Writing out your negative thoughts helps you slow down and question them. Neuroscience shows journaling reduces activity in the amygdala, calming emotional overreaction. It also strengthens the prefrontal cortex, your logic center, helping you respond rather than react. 2. Cognitive restructuring. Once you catch a negative thought, replace it with a more balanced one. For example, I'll never be good enough can become I'm learning and growing every day. This isn't toxic positivity, it's truth-based optimism. When practiced daily, it creates new neural pathways that make hope your new default. 3. Meditation and breathwork. These aren't just spiritual tools, they're neurological resets. Deep breathing reduces cortisol, enhances oxygen flow, and increases gray matter in areas related to emotional regulation. Even 5 minutes a day can shift your baseline mood and build mental resilience. Gratitude practice. Daily gratitude physically reshapes the brain. MRI studies show consistent gratitude increases activity in the hypothalamus, improving sleep, appetite, and mood. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, it creates space for joy to coexist with struggle. Physical movement. Exercise releases endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, natural antidepressants. It also increases BDNF, a brain-derived protein that supports growth and healing. When you move your body, you move your mood. Omega-3s and brain nutrition. The brain is 60% fat, and essential fatty acids support emotional balance. Studies link omega-3 intake with lower rates of depression and reduced anxiety. A nourished brain is less reactive, more stable, and better equipped to manage stress. Thus, connection and vulnerability. Talk to someone safe. Sharing your thoughts out loud reduces their intensity and allows new perspectives. Human connection heals the brain by releasing oxytocin, the bonding hormone that soothes fear. None of these tools work overnight, but repeated daily, they build a new mental home, one of awareness, calm, and hope. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you choose to pause, reflect, or speak to yourself kindly, you're changing your brain. You are not powerless. The brain you live with today is not the brain you're stuck with forever. Thoughts can be trained, emotions can be healed, and your inner world can become a place of safety, strength, and self-respect. Every small action rewires something. So begin small, but begin. The most powerful truth you must remember is this: you are not your past thoughts. You are your future intentions. Your brain has been shaped by fear, by pain, by habit, but it's also ready to be reshaped by purpose, clarity, and love. Every day you wake up, you are offered a new mental blueprint. You can either repeat yesterday's narrative or write a new one. That choice is where your freedom lives. Start by creating a new mental identity. Not someone who never has negative thoughts, but someone who responds differently to them. See yourself as a person who pauses instead of panics, who listens instead of judges, who leads your mind with truth, not fear. That identity will guide your choices, and your choices will shape your brain. Speak to yourself as someone you deeply care about. Would you tell a child you're worthless or you'll always fail? Of course not. So why let those messages echo in your mind unchecked? Replace them with statements rooted in dignity. I'm doing my best. I am worthy of peace. I choose to grow even through pain. These aren't affirmations. They're reality anchors. They protect your brain from spiraling. Design your environment to support your mental health. What you see, hear, and surround yourself with matters. Curate the voices in your life. Set boundaries with negativity. Give your nervous system moments of stillness. Silence is not a luxury. It's a neurological need. Create time each day to return to yourself without noise. Also, remember that healing is not linear. There will be days your thoughts feel heavy. But don't judge that. Just return to the tools. Return to the breath. Return to your awareness. That's how new grooves are carved into the brain, not with force, but with gentle repetition. Not with shame, but with consistency. Finally, reconnect to something deeper than thought. Whether it's faith, purpose, nature, or service, let your life be about more than survival. Let it be about meaning. When you live with purpose, your thoughts begin to align with that vision. The mind, once wild with fear, becomes a servant of your heart. You were never meant to live at war with your own mind. You were designed for clarity, for peace, and for powerful inner freedom. And though the road back to yourself may be long, it is always possible. The brain you're healing is listening to every word you say. So speak with love. Choose truth. And remind yourself daily, I am not my negative thoughts. I am the one who overcomes them